Hello. I'm posting because I kind of got like something illuminated to me. Um, like I said, I listen to certain people, you know what I mean? And a lot of times they confirm things or help me sort out things that I'm dealing with or thinking about, or they just bring inspiration. And I was thinking, what is it? Because sometimes it's like you keep, like, reiterating the messages from different people, and then you kind of self examine yourself. And the kind of the thing that I got was I'm someone that I had an old boss tell me it's like I'm not very good at taking correction. Um, and at first, when she said that, I kind of was like, but then I thought about it. It was like, sometimes like that can be somewhat true because like I always hold myself to like a very high standard. You know what I mean? And sometimes initially, like when I hear some form of correction, um, you know what I mean? I like it has to sit with me for. I was like, you know what? You have a point. Because I'm the type of person. If you bring me logic, I'm like, okay. And the kind of the thing I was getting, it's like a lot of times I know I do this to myself. We grade ourselves on a curve. All right. No, say like a teacher grades you on a curve. You know what I mean? So like they're basically, they're going to give you like, like take your best score, your worst score, you know what I mean? Like and best highest grade, low grade, and they'll kind of like take them together. You know, I for one, I know I do this to myself. It's like I will hold myself to an unrealistic standard. And like I said, people post videos and they keep, you know what I mean? And then it reiterates what I've already, like, was already, like, kind of thinking in my mind. It's like kind of irking me that sometimes it's like when you hold yourself to such a high standard, it's like you don't give yourself time to ground. You don't give yourself time to breathe. You don't give yourself time to process. You don't get yourself time to be human. You don't give yourself time to like enjoy. I used to like listening to Joyce Myers, and something she used to say, which I really liked, was like, life is a bunch of like hurrying up and waiting. You know what I mean? Like, you can be so focused, like a watch pot doesn't boil. You can be so focused on the end result that you forget to enjoy the process sometimes, to the point where letting yourself breathe, because it's like when you're trusting God, it's like, and it's like, you know, being in process, it's kind of like, God, it's like, I trust you even if I don't trust my mind. I trust you even if I don't trust my emotions. You know what I mean? Because our mind can, like, start questioning. You know what I mean? And the Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So I, all the time, at least once or twice a day, I'm always like, thanking God and reminding myself, and speaking those blessings and reminders over myself. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's like I'm more like spiritual than like religious, because for me, like, spiritual is spirit led. You know what I mean? I had a teacher one time say, and I've said this before, it's like, if you're looking for truth, you'll find it. But like I was saying, it's like, instead of grading myself on a curve, I don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like I'm always looking for perfection, or just, like I'm such a like an action motivated person. But that's the thing, is sometimes in growth and sometimes in the process, you know what I mean? Like you hit those growth spurts, and it's almost kind of like you have to balance out. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like sometimes when you're in the process of like figuring something out, you catch momentum, you know what I mean? And it's like, you have to remind yourself, it's like, it's okay, to just be sometimes. And sometimes it's like that can be really hard for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm a go, go, go kind of person. And that was another thing too when I was in the process of healing, and it's really hard when you're really in the muck of it. It's like, because was always the type of person, it's like I took on everyone's burdens. Yours, theirs, mine, everyone's. I could shoulder everyone's on me. No one should do that, but I did that. I think it came from just my family conditioning me that way, very performance based. And that was another thing. It's like, it's like almost kind of like, making peace with, because, your value isn't in just what you can do, what you can provide, and that be that. You know what I mean? Like, my family was not very superficial, but they were very egotistical, which is really kind of superficial, but it's like when you're egotistical, it's like you almost kind of think that you're above being superficial. But when you're egotistical and you're kind of like motivated by like image, and that's like, it's like, how you feel comfortable, how you consider something, and then this is just you, and this is how you exist, and this is how things function, and this is how I'm addressed. But sometimes it's like you have to allow yourself, it's like that's not good either, and that's toxic, Another thing is like when you're dealing with people, you know what I mean? I don't know if it's because they're about to go through a full moon, or just people just be like, I think sometimes, it's like we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness. And it's like either you're ruled of God or you're led of the devil. And it's like, like passive aggressive. And I am not passive, and I am a lot calmer, you know what I mean, than I used to be. So it's like, when people used to be passive, you know what I mean? Like, it almost kind of get me to the point of irritation. Now it's just like, well, what is your problem? You know what I mean? Like, the Bible says be angry and sin not. So it's like, almost kind of like, boy, sir, ma'am, I'm not even gonna give you, the stroke of the ego. But it's almost like people love to be so passive just to kind of paint something where it's kind of like, I was raised around a lot of like cunning, like, people that just like to just do the most slick shit that there was, like, and it's just like, like I would guess I was raised by the best in a way, but it's just like, and that's another thing is like, in letting my family go, friends go, people, everyone I dealt with go, it's like, it's kind of like, now it's kind of like, it's like in other people, it's just like, all right. It's like almost like if you that person that you ain't even got to act like that, but if you act like that, you ain't really that, because it's not on you, it's in you. You know what I mean? I like to say that I'm not confident, I'm convinced. You know what I mean? My dad raised me to be humble. He's like, if you don't work, you don't eat. I'll say this, it's like I had grandmothers that loved me, and then a father that, had Hunt and Hill traumas, but it was toxic. You know what I mean? But my grandmothers loved me. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's the thing is people are just humans, like, but it's like, when you grade yourself on a curve, when you don't grade yourself on a curve, and, because you just, you're so like, you don't feel like it's ever enough, You know, like got sometimes it's like hard to you overlook, like the growth you've done sometimes and everything because it's like you're thinking the next, point to the next destination of healing, growth, process, and then other people that are unhealed, you know what I mean, are intentionally trying to trigger, gaslight, project onto you. It almost kind of like it's easier to deter you. So it's like when you're more balanced, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and does not mean that, you're not healed and everything like that, but it means like you are human. And I think sometimes whenever something like, like it can kind of stir us a little bit, like it's something to look in ourselves, you know? Because it's like, because when something isn't something that you're still working on, it's not something that's going to irk you. You almost look at it from a third party perspective. And I guess that's the thing I've working on lately is just recognizing the growth and standing in that, because it's like almost like I've said in past videos, like bringing everything together. But whenever you're not grading yourself on a curve and just, kind of, allowing yourself to recognize um, your healing parts and the strides you've made in like self-recognition and self-realization, like people, like when you go into the world and you encounter individuals, like I said, it's a spiritual battle. It's like almost like people like will project on you. My mother is the worst about that. She used to say things all the time to me. And whenever you realize it's a projection and it's gaslighting, people will really tell on themselves. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, so it's like, so for me, that's something I realized. It's like, allowing myself to give myself credit, and it's just like stepping into that, you know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. And I've said this in past videos. I feel like healing and growth is always like a process. But it's kind of like, like, because it's the thing is like, and whenever you realize, like, everybody, like, if you've done growth and healing and work on yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not everybody's even done that. Or everybody's at different levels. And some people don't even want to do the work. So it's like, that's why some people, just aren't going to be for you. You know what I mean? It's nothing against whoever, but it's like, you got to have boundaries. There's somebody that I knew and it was like a spiritual theme, but it's like there are ones, twos, and threes. Ones are at a higher level than you mentally, spiritually, however, more mature, whatever. They will pour into you. They will hold you accountable. They will speak life into you. They will give you truth. There are twos. They're at the same level as you. You guys are not going to deflect from each other. You're not, you'll vibe, very easy, very even keel, Then there are threes. Threes are the type of people that will zap you within being within them within 5 minutes, an